and welcome to another episode of LOC On The Clock, your quick whistle-stop tour around the League of Champions. I'm joined once again by Chris. How's it going, Chris?
Do you know what, Nath? I am, sometimes more than others, I am buzzing to be here. And today, I am buzzing to be here. I'm not going to lie, this is a good week, which I am thoroughly looking forward to checking out all the runners and riders from the week gone and the week to go.
I mean, well, we've had some excellent podcasts when you've been in a particular Chris mood. I remember last season there was, I think it was around the end of October, we had probably one of the all-timers in terms of your performance. So I'm looking forward to it. So without further ado, let's get to the recaps. Okay, so the marquee matchup of last week, Chris, was obviously your choice as Norman. You chose Gridiron Gang against Oaken Golden Bears because I think Freddie was coming off a loss the week before, but had obviously previously picked up a win. I was coming off a loss as well, where I got absolutely, I think, blasted the week before by you. You picked a good game. It wasn't there wasn't a high scoring on the week, and I don't think it was. It was reasonably good scoring, but not one of the high scorers. But it was definitely close. 98 to 95 in favour of my team. We both picked my team to win as well, Chris. So close game. I got up to 3-2. Freddie drops to 1-4, and I have the history. I think that's my first ever win against Freddie as well, because we only played once last season. Taking a look at the lineups, obviously we saw last week that Matthew Stafford got off to a hot start for me with 32, offsetting the low score by the Rams. Wasn't a great week for special teams for me because Shragod unfortunately got injured, which I was of course very sad about. He only got 2 points before getting his knee shredded, but it didn't matter because obviously solid scores across the board really on my team there. For Freddie, again solid score. Not really much you can say. Obviously went with Bo Nix, who got 20, which isn't bad, but obviously, very few points. The one thing I will point out in this game though, Chris, is because I think since we recorded, potentially, I think as well, it was Freddie traded first overall pick. Not often you see the first rounders, let alone it might be the very first time in the LSE we've ever seen the first overall pick of the draft traded to bucking the trend. For who you traded him for, Breece Hall. And let me tell you, Chris, he played Rashid Shaheed in his place, who didn't do too badly. He obviously got 17. Chase would have got 23, though obviously he would not have had Breece Hall, and he would have played Pacheco at the same time. So it didn't quite change the result, I suppose, on paper, but definitely a big trade to talk about. Hampton did get injured as well, was another thing to say. I mean, I went to bed in this one, Chris, I think about 10:30, and I think it was like 89 to 84 to Freddie. We can probably see on the scoring chart or something. And I was like, I don't have a chance here, and just went to bed. I was going to bed anyway, but I don't have it. And then I woke up and saw that I'd somehow won. So I was like, okay. So Freddie basically didn't score any more points, and Gibbs and Cook basically scrabbled just enough together for me to get me over the line. But another decent week from Freddie after obviously what was quite a slow start, but obviously not quite enough again, Chris.
Absolutely, and I tell you what, Nath, there was some streaky plays from you that came off really well. Matt Stafford rolling back the years there with three touchdowns for 31.5, and I've got to say, in Lamar's absence, maybe even continued absence, that isn't such a bad place to be. But your running back room again there. Say combining for what we got, 28, 32, 32, 35, give or take 34 points, 35 points and change. Yeah. Something like that. But say, again, a good return from them, bearing in mind that, we think that if you can score 10 with every one of your skill positions, that's pretty much par for the course. So that's pretty good. But, starting solid as ever, especially with Bo Nix on the other side. But let's have a special mention there for Jake Ferguson. A huge 17 points on the day, 2 touchdowns and 50 yards, give or take. So getting you across the line. Weird old stat line, 98.36 points. It is the way to go. On the other side, say Freddie, that's probably his punchiest performance for a while. Anchored by Smith, Shaheed, Breece Hall. But say that loss of Hampton maybe was the difficulty, and obviously the difference in QB as well. A decent day for Bo Nix, let's be honest. But not the one that he may have expected, and nothing from the bench also. So 94 points, best performance in a while and hopefully that trade, for what it's worth now, I know with Hampton going down in the same week, will provide a little more stability perhaps than that has been shown before.
Yeah, absolutely. Next game then was Mate Kitchen's great again, facing off against Pat Stan. Mate Kitchen's great again. 1-3 entering this one. They were obviously looking like one of the weakest and coldest teams in the league, whereas Pat had some good weeks, so sitting at 2-2. Both these teams are now 2-3 after, I think it's fair enough to say this was an upset, Chris. Mate Kitchen's
very much so.
105-82. You actually saved my blushes not letting me lock Pat here, because that would have been an all-timer in terms of missed locks. So we did both pick Pat, however, so we still taken out on that front. But yeah, I mean, it was really Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I think you can probably point to him being the real bright spot, even without him. Well, technically he'd lose him if he had a donut there, but he probably still wins this game even if he had the lesser amount. But that really was the difference. As you like to say, Chris, 2 quarterback scores really you could say on his side versus 1 on Pat's side. That's pretty much all it comes back to. Anything else to add?
Yeah, absolutely right. I think that's where we're at. So yeah, nobody expected Krosky-Merritt to go as big as that. No one here, no one outside, not even him. But fair play, 25 points. And yeah, I think Jalen Waddle there, freed from the shackles of being a number 2 receiver.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We'll see that uptick. So that's some light. And if you've got McMillan and Thomas and some offenses that were perhaps struggling to turn the corner a bit, the second third of the season, I suppose, should be a bit better for Ollie. And seems to. This week, anyway, we've got the QB situation sorted out, but they're not going to play the Bengals every week. Let's be honest. Whilst for Pat, these things that we talked about are rearing its head this week. So, from a receiving point of view, no touchdowns between. In fact, if we're going to go as far as saying that, no touchdowns between any of their skill positions this week. So, don't score touchdowns. Generally speaking, this is probably your cap. You're bereft of that, but the one thing that I think is really hurting him at the moment is again this receiver stack for the Lions. Now I get it in a week like this where the upside was significant. You've got to play them against Goff. I suppose one of them or more of them is likely to be able to succeed. But in a week where it's 3 passing TDs on one side and none of the 2 receivers get one. I mean, come on. Where's the fun in that? Jency and Scabu, though the yardage was pretty good. Again, no touchdowns, couldn't fall into the end zone there, and obviously Vegas got blown out anyway. So that is a concern, but fair play. Ollie's picked the right guys this week, or at least the right guys have come good for him. It's not like he could have picked anyone different. And yeah, gets a vital win on the board.
Yep, absolutely. And Ollie sneakily now has a 10-5 record against Pat. So you obviously that was as well. I should say the Corona Bowl 16 rematch. So Ollie also getting some a little bit of revenge there as well. We'll go to the next game then, which is the Waypoint Bowl, 137 to bucking the trend, Chris, against 123. So we're gonna get the old buzzsaw out for you because your arm is presently on the floor. Absolute points eruption. And speaking of the other side of the obviously Oakland Golden Bears trade, direct correlation, 23 points straight to Mike's starting lineup, and I mean he only had Keishon Boutte that he could have played on the bench in his place, so that could well have been the difference, really, Chris. Or that would have been enough to change the result. He obviously would have benefited from Hall, but to be honest, Hall... Actually, no, sorry, because he would have had Breece Hall, so it would have still roughly been the same result. He would have played over him, but would have made it much closer, obviously. But, lots of points from Mike. The stack came through once again. Michael Carter was a nice little spot start. Judkins seems like he's going to be legit on your side of the ball. Yep, obviously Rico Dowd was the big thing there, 29 points. Oh. Didn't see that on coming when I suggested you pick him up during last week's episode.
Neither did I.
No, I don't think anybody did. 26 from Javonte and Mahomes as well, 29. So, yeah, again, just to quote a you phrase, Chris, not often you lose with four quarterback scores because Ibuka got 24 as well. I guess it really comes down to you had quite a few guys that feasted, but then you had quite a few guys who famined as well, unfortunately. That's really the difference here because, again, Mike had quite a few high scorers as well, but it's the supporting cast, shall we say, that chipped in the difference versus your team. Yeah,
100%. You look at the D points down there for the Texans of Baltimore, and obviously Seahawks scored a big fat 0 this week. So yeah, not ideal. But look, yeah, I have nothing to complain about. I scored 123 points, and as you say, with 4 QB scores. So yeah, I love the fact that Ibuka is absolutely entrenched as that number 1 receiver now. That Javonte is legit, as it turns out. And yeah, big spot start for Dowd, as you mentioned. Should have played in hindsight. Should have played Stephon Diggs. I was so on the fence between him and Shakir. And then
gotta go with the revenge game narrative. What were you thinking?
I know. Maybe I just didn't believe in New England. Maybe that's wrong.
It's a revenge game. You just go with it and hope.
Just fair. I know now. But New England looked much better, and yeah. To have maybe have trusted that a bit more was my downfall. But hey, I can't complain the fact that 123-point loss in a loss. Mike scored 137 points. Yeah, he gave himself 10 free points by pulling off one of the better trades that we've seen. I think you're entirely right that that we've never seen a first overall go like that in a trade. I think there's significant risk to it because of the QB situation there. Yeah. But when he's good, he is good, and you can't complain with that. And pairing him with Pickens and Njigba makes a very potent receiving core in this league.
Well, he's got. This week particularly, he had Jacobs on a bye. Bucky Irving obviously missed this one injured as well. Yeah. So it's crazy. He's not actually even really forced into playing him because I would say Judkins is probably arguably a starter now as well. So it's a very well positioned trade for Mike, shall we say?
I think so. Yeah, he's got a balanced bench, and yeah, you're right. Judkins again. I think is one of those guys. You seem at the moment you can rely on some double-digit point scoring, and that really is. It really is like gold dust. So this team is very well positioned. Nobody saw Dak. By the way, he saw something that nobody else saw, which was Dak Prescott being very, very good for fantasy purposes this year. 2 36-point weeks back to back after a bit of a tricky start. So you gotta think that, especially now they're playing, I think Carolina this week and Washington the next week after that, that can continue. So yeah, for as long as that stack is in place, this team is going to score some points, some real points.
And you are both 4-4 against each other all time as well. And I should say you 43-2 and he climbs to 4-1. Next game then we had the Dream Team against. By the way, you locked Mike. Sorry, so I'll get you out.
I did.
I picked your team, so I take a nail on the pick, but you nailed the lock. We'll go to the next game then, which was the Dream Team against Ben Necessities. Ben Necessities, was still searching for their first win. I did lock them in this one after I moved off my conservative lock and went with a bold one, and it didn't come off. But Ben Necessities once again had a decent showing. It's just that's obviously Viv had a much better day, 116 points to 98. If we look down the teams. There's nothing. The Colts D is probably the one thing that jumps out. I guess you would say that's really the difference in this one. And yeah, again, my dad's team just scored well. It just didn't quite come off. So I have nothing really more to add to this game. Chris, anything from your side?
No, I think you're right. I say Viv has more touchdowns on the generally speaking, but yeah, you can't complain with some of the output that this team has shown, but it is very boom and bust, and you can't rely on boom and bust teams. Having said that, though, at 3-2, boom and bust, hold on for the ride. Dave's team is conservative, but isn't booming at the right times necessarily.
Yeah.
To be able to get those wins on the board, individual components are pretty good, and I think Debo and JJ are a decent wide receiver 1 and 2 combo. It's just making sure those running backs are doing something, and I just don't have the faith that they will do that every week.
Yeah, no, definitely. And these two are 12-12 against each other all time now as well. So close series. Next game is Old England Redcoats. They have not changed their name yet. Against Ixan. We both picked. Oh, you also picked bare necessities, I should say, in that one. So we both taken out there. Mine's bigger. So Old England Redcoats against Ixan. We both picked Ixan in this one after obviously we had a slow start. Picked up his first win to get to 1-3. Now he's 2-3, 187, and Ross's team falls to 2-3. In the same vein, looking down the sides again, a fairly close competing game. I mean, generally across the league, actually, scoring was pretty good. But the last game we'll look at was the worst scoring game, but no one disgraced themselves this week, certainly. But yeah, for Ben, it's really all like you were sort of saying. It's about the running backs. Jonathan Taylor and Kyron Williams combined for over 15 points between them. When the Lions did get 16, and then some other guys chip in here and there, it was enough to bring them home for Ross's team. We obviously say it's pretty much Josh Allen or bust, certainly while Lamar's out and Derrick Henry's not quite firing. To be honest, I think 87 maybe is a bit of a fortuitous score, if you're being fair, because again, Henry saves his day with a touchdown. Kelsey again grabs a touchdown. Yeah. T. Higgins has done really nothing. Obviously, since Burrow's gone down, he manages to snag a touchdown. So it could have been a lot worse for Ross, but it's closer. But ultimately, still a loss, Chris.
I agree with you. That was exactly what I was coming to. Small yardage tails and big TDs sort of bailing them out and making it look perhaps better than it is. But again, that is the game. If you can get people who score touchdowns, then you're going to put yourself in a good window every week. So, yeah, I can't say fairer than that. But for Ben, who needs a QB that fires? I mean, I know Great May's been pretty good over the last couple of weeks, but who needs a QB that fires when you've got those running backs, Taylor and Williams, now running all over people every week. Look at Taylor, 3 and 4, 27.5, 29.80, 960, a bit of a down week last week, and then 28.60 again. QB numbers in 3 out of 4 weeks. Absolutely wow. Similarly with Williams, he's one in, one out with him. But 23 points is his best score of the season. He's had a 17, he's had a 13 in there as well. Great ways to cornerstone yourself. Lions against Cincy, natural matchup play there. Could have had more with Chubb. I think St. Myers went in there and they got battered. So that's a shame. But Quentin Johnston, you hate to see that, man. It's a hamstring. It's for someone of his kind of ilk. You never like to see a hamstring injury. And he's been one of the better performances for Ben this year. But Jordan Addison's come in. He's scored relatively well as well. So didn't he get benched as well somewhere?
He was benched for the first quarter, I think. Yeah. Disciplinary reasons, I think, broke his curfew in London, something, I don't know. But he caught the game-winning touchdown, so all was forgiven by the end of it, I'm sure. All
is forgiven. So, fair play. So, I think Ben's doing it by hook and by crook there. It's a bit of a weird composition, but 100 points with that, I think he'd be very pleased.
Yep, definitely. And he's also 10-5 against Russell Time. So again, another lopsided series on the agenda. We'll go to the last game of the week then, which featured the final undefeated team, Great Scott against Tom's Tyrants, who, obviously in America at the time of this game and the one before, won the week before. Didn't win this one though, so not quite the all-studded trip, being undefeated while in the States. And Jeff, I mean, my big takeaway from this one is Jeff's gotten away with it, really, because he would have only beaten Tom and just about Pat on the slate this week. So very fortuitous to be playing against Tom in this one. There's not really, obviously, a lot to necessarily call out from Jeff's team. Just a down week. They obviously have been quite good. Maybe some cracks showing. He obviously didn't have a Denzel on a bye, but who knows. And then on the other side for Tom's Tyrants, obviously Godwin got injured. Giants D, there wasn't really much left on the LD. It was bye week hell for Tom, so Jeff did catch Tom on a very good week. No doubt, if Tom was at full strength, I think this one probably does go the other way, Chris.
Yes, I agree. I think there's some speculative plays in there. no matter what. But yeah, absolute luck of the Irish for Jeff. He's pulled it out. Fair play. It's a 2 QB score week ish, give or take. Herbert's not been unbelievable, but McCaffrey's kind of bailed him out of it a bit.
Yeah.
There's not really a great deal to write home about on the skill position front, apart from the fact that there were some reasonably good yardage totals, but just again lacking a couple of touchdowns here and there. But we saw them from the week previously with Jess. It wasn't a completely changed team. He scored 119 points the week prior. But yeah, the difference there is, we saw Nakua with 23, Adunze with 13, and Tyler Warren. But the kicker and D were the two things. And kicker and D, they combined for 16 as opposed to combined for 28 the previous. So there's ways around it. Woody Marks as well, perhaps to say. Was on the bench and it was lulled into a false sense of security after playing against the woeful Tennessee Titans the week prior with the big 24-point game. So could have done a great deal more. There's a lot of bye weeks there for Jeff too. As you say, for Tom, there'll be a direct improvement when you see the bench come back this week.
Definitely. And Jeff is now 3-0 against Tom all time as well. So building a good record against him as well. Viv is watching. He might not sure if he's still watching, but he comments never forget, bring back Savage Chris. Chris is up for your vintage episode of yours, Chris. So
absolutely.
So on the week, I was 3-3 on the pick'ems. You were 4-2, Chris. You had a pretty good week. Obviously, you got your lock as well, and I missed mine. Let's go on to we don't want the intro music. We want the news.
Is that what the intro might be effect?
No.
We're introducing
Viv making the briefest of appearances on the podcast. Right. So in the news. Transactions, just one that I was going to highlight. That's I've of course dropped Spencer Schrader. He's done for the year. It's a big loss for my team. We all know how much I have an affinity for a kicker I like. So, in his honour though, I have picked up the Money Badger himself, who's kicking in his place. So we'll see what happens there. That's the only transaction to call out. In terms of milestones, let's do that next. Ross has notched his 100th regular season loss, so congratulations to
welcome to the club.
Yeah, welcome to the club. And Pat's also notched his 75th regular season loss, so Pat's getting up there too. So
don't worry though, you can lose 100 points, you can lose 100 games, but they'll never take that Corona bar away from you.
It's very true. I think in terms of, I've got the, hold on, let me bring over the stats here quickly. Here we go. In terms of win percentage, let's just look at active coaches. I'm pretty sure Ross is the lowest win percentage of active coaches at 0.421 or 42.1%. So, and the next closest is, by the looks of it, it's me at 44.7%. So, Ross is leading the way, but as you say, he's got a trophy, as do I, despite being under the 500. So, what does it matter? What else? Check out the power rankings, the co-pilot trademark power rankings when they come out. They haven't come out. I forgot to do them the other day, but I'll do them this evening. On the trade block, still for my team, Jake Ferguson, Tony Pollard, Darren Warner, and the Rams defense. If you would like any of those players, please let me know. We'll see if we can discuss a trade, and we'll just go on to the previews. I don't think there's anything else to call out. So previews. So it is week 6. It is a intra-divisional week, so we are playing within the divisions again. On the docket, Chris, we have a Gridiron Gang against Pakistan. We've got Oak and Golden Bears against the Dream Team, which is the Bristol Bowl. Thomas Harris against Bucking the Trend. Mike Kitchen's great again against Old England Redcoats. Ixan against Ford Flyers, which is, of course, the Friendship Bowl. And Great Scott against Ben Necessities, which is the defeated versus the undefeated. 5-0, against 0-5. Where are you going for the marquee matchup this week, Chris?
I am going with, unbelievably, because I think it could be quite funny, I'm going with Make Kitchens Great Again versus the Old England Redcoats, both at 2 and 3. Unbelievable.
All right, let's cue the music. Monday Night Football. Here we go. Marquee matchup. Okay, so yeah, the market matchup for week 6 then. Mate Kitchens is great again against Old England Redcoats. A 2-3 matchup, Chris. It's an interesting choice. But, I mean, Ollie's team showed some signs of life last week. Ross's team, obviously, he's coming off a loss. But he does have 2 wins in the bag. Let's take a look at the teams in terms of changes. So Hassan Haskins has come into the starting lineup for Ollie's team. One of his ads this week, obviously in the wake of the Marin Hampton injury. I think that might be his only change on the week. Yeah, let's say that it is. And then on the other side of the board for Ross's team, would it surprise you if I told you, Chris, that he is unchanged?
Do you know it wouldn't?
And he does presently have the Vikings D on a bye. But he can remedy that with, it's the Bengals defense. They're back, of course. What have you done, Chris? You know what? I'm going to hand this over to you since you were so keen to pick this game for some reason.
I really was. And as soon as we have a look and see what the matchups are for this week, there's very rarely, this is not a disparaging thing against both these teams, but rarely they're going to be in the marquee matchup this year. So I think when they're playing together, it's probably time to do it. We saw last week that Ollie had a resurgence, and a resurgence in the same way that I think this week I have a warm and fuzzy feeling about this team. I just do, and here's why: is that you have some good situations, some good matchups, and perhaps some resurgence in some ways. With certain players. So, you have Waddle there, we saw last week, clear number 1, playing at home, playing against the Chargers. We see time and time again, when we see West Coast teams coming East Coast and, there's a factor of being hot and things like this. I think that's an interesting one. Milling against Dallas, who have been an absolute point sieve all year for various players of various creeds, colours and positions. That should be fine. And then Thomas, who last week put up his best yardage score of the year in a tough match. So, and again, playing at home against Seattle, same thing as we spoke about before. And they've got something going there finally. Haskins is a bit of a weird one because we just don't know what he's going to be like. But if there's one game it's getting against Miami, who again, we talked about point sieves, just got stripped apart by Rico Dowdle last week. And then Krosky Merritt, who, without any sort of, without any sort of hindrance again at home, hopefully we've seen the high water mark. Plus the Bills are playing Atlanta. Atlanta, we know Atlanta can be a bit of a joke show from time to time. Goff playing into KC, I don't like quite so much, but it's significantly better than what we see on the other side, where it really is Allen or bust this week. There's a lot of things I hate. And matchup-wise, you might see Henry and Flowers against the Rams. The Rams are good. Baltimore can't get anything going. That is not going to be a fun one for them. Higgins, again, who knows what Joe Flacco's going to look like. Well, we've seen him already, but in this new offense, what that's going to look like, I don't know. Against that Green Bay defense in Green Bay, blah. Garrett Wilson against Denver, blah. And Travis KC against Detroit, he's touchdown dependent. Plus the Bengals D as well, if presumably they come back in. Oh dear, oh my. I think this could be where the tide turns for Ollie this season, because that team is actually okay for the first time in some time, whilst for Ross, I just don't see any route to victory. So congrats on making the marquee matchup, guys. I hope it's close. But I'm going with make Kitchens to be great again. Yeah, in fact, they're going to be great again this week. That's my choice.
I'm going to get the hat made, and I'm going to go that way as well this week. It still wouldn't surprise me if Ross wins this game, because this would just be the ultimate weirdo, bizarro. This game, because we're excited that Ollie's team had a better week. I agree, it does look much better from this week, but equally, this is also the team that scored the lowest amount of points until this week. So, let's not. And okay, I know some circumstances have changed. Obviously, Waddle's the number 1 now. Krosky Merritt might have finally arrived and be legit, but often fantasy has a way of pumping the brakes and reminding you that that it can be somewhat random week to week. So, but no, yeah, Ross on paper doesn't have a lot going. If Henry had a better matchup and obviously Lamar was there, it's a completely different picture. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It should shape up as a fairly straightforward win for Mate Kitchens. Great again. The projections do have it that way, albeit if Ross had even the Bengals in, he would have the projected win there. So yeah, I mean, good golf outdoors, as we know, away in KC as well, doesn't necessarily profile as the best golf game. So there's potential trip ups, but yeah, I think it's still, like you said, the matchups and some of the guys there, it makes sense to go Ollie's way. The history of that one, I didn't do that either, so let me just give that. Ollie is 7-5 all the time against Ross's team, and I also realised I breezed past the standings and stuff because I think I usually do that before I do the milestone, so I'll just very quickly dovetail back and do all that before we do the rest of the previewing. So if we look at the Southampton division, we have a new standalone leader there now, which is bucking the trend at 4-1. He's also the highest scoring team in that division and one of the highest in the league. I think he's currently third in scoring. Yep, just behind me and you, Chris. Yeah, Dream Team and Tom's Tyrants at 3-2. And then we've got Ross's team and Ollie at 2-3, and then Freddie at the bottom there at 1-4. In the Ports division, Jeff, as we said, still undefeated at 5-0. He is 2 clear wins ahead of myself and you, Chris. We're both at 3-2, as I said. We are the 2 highest scoring teams. You have now slightly overtaken me by 7 points, so you have the honour of being highest scoring team for now. Padistan and Ixan are at 2-3. Ixan obviously was 0-3, so yeah, he's climbed back up, whereas Pat's dropped a couple on the trot. And Ben and Sesti is still sitting at the bottom there at 0-5. If we take a look at playoffs, if it were to end today, obviously it would be Great Scott bucking the trend, getting the bye. Then it would be you and me with the traditional wildcard, Chris. And then interestingly, it would then be Pat with the points forward wildcard. So despite being 2-3, having a lesser win than Viv and Tom, obviously because the 5th wildcard goes to the points forward, which would be Pat. So that's where it is at the moment. But it's still obviously all fairly close to play for. In terms of highest scoring teams, again, it probably doesn't surprise you to see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 6 scoring teams reside in the Portsmouth division. Only Mike is sitting in the Southampton division among the top 6. And then if we look at points conceded, again, you are the highest, Chris. So even with despite conceding the most, obviously you've got the most points for it as well. You've still got that 3-2 record. My dad's team is on 5, so again, obviously might not have scored as brilliantly as some other teams. He is 9th in scoring at 429, so not dreadful, and certainly around, compared to the middle of the pack, not a great deal off, but he has been scored upon to the tune of 518, so that obviously makes a difference. Same for Ollie's team, he is 2-3. Obviously, he's the lowest scorer. We didn't look at lower scoring. He's still only scored 361 points, which is a good 46 less than the closest, the only team to not score 400. Yet he has 2 wins and my dad has none, so that's how it goes. But he has conceded a lot as well, to be fair. And then we have the rest of the pack. Then we turn to the bottom. Tom's Tyrants again, 3-2. Lowest conceded team, 375. Again, the only team to not concede 400 points yet. And then Ross is the next closest at 429. And then obviously it climbs up from there. So not too much surprises there. Look at breakdown. We are both. This is the records. If you play everyone each week, we are both atop again. Chris, you are number 1, 45-10. I'm 14-15. We're coming off 2 straight 10-1 weeks. Then Mike, he has jumped up over the last few weeks to 11-0 weeks on the trot, brings him up to 3rd and 38-17. Jeff's just behind, 37-18. He was obviously doing much better this week, but dropped to 2-9 last week, which has just pegged him back a little bit. Ben, again, despite the slow start at 2-3, he's pulling it back as well, 30-25, which is the same record as Pat. Then the others, as you go down, you expect my dad's team 20-35. So again, due some positive regression, you would say, in dual win at some point. And then we turn to the bottom. We've got Freddie's team, that's obviously 1-4, 16-39. Not overly surprising. Tom's team, though, 3-2, 15-40, kind of surprising. And then obviously Mate Kitchen's great again, 10-45, but also has 2 wins. So a bit of luck going there. And then if we look at the coach score, Pat's leading the way, suppressing those points, as is Mike. So scored very well, Mike, but he's not leaving much points on the bench either. Ben's obviously doing quite well, as is Viv. I've climbed this rank as well. I'm up to 5th now. Then we turn towards the bottom. We've got Freddie, so again leaving some points on the bench. maybe could have made the difference. Jeff Lee has left 64 points on the bench over the course of the season, albeit 40 of those came in 1 week, but obviously it's not affecting him too much. Chris, despite being the highest scoring team, you have left 72 points on the bench, so what you could be over 600 right now. Pretty crazy. Ross's team, 73 points on the bench as well, so again, he could have had more, albeit again, as we know, a lot of that was the Vikings D back in whatever week it was. And then my dad's team as well, 90 points left on the bench, really lagging. So despite being sort of not the best in scoring, but certainly not the worst, again, a lot of points left around, and some of those, as we know, could have made a difference potentially and gotten a win. So there we go. That's that. So yeah, we'll go back to the previews now. So our next game on the docket is the Friendship Bowl, which features the 3 and 2 Forge Flyers against the 2 and 3 Ixan side. Obviously, Ixan's coming off a 2-game winning streak. You obviously had your doors blown off last week, Chris. Looking to get back on the right side of it. You got 8 points already from AJ Brown. You do have the projected lead, 98-88. In terms of other changes, I think Bijan obviously comes back from bye for you in favour of Travis Etienne, I presume.
Yes,
yep,
that's right.
Yep, cool. And then on the other side of it for Ixan, let's see, Kareem Hunt comes from the waiver wire into the starting lineup in favour of Jordan Addison, who goes on to bye. And I think beyond that, he's unchanged. So, yeah, how are you feeling about your chances this week, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Ben's side first of all, and I think that the 3 running backs that he's got there are a very intriguing mix. We've seen Taylor and Williams, we spoke about earlier on, who've been excellent. I think in both those matchups, they will succeed, and especially at the moment, Baltimore can't keep their offense on the field and their defense sucks. So this is going to be a good matchup for that, and I think Taylor's pretty much matchup proof right now. Hunt last week was great around the goal line. I think they'll be there again against Detroit. I think that'll be not a close game necessarily, but certainly one that has will be broken down. But Myers, I think if you're going to play him, that's a good way against Tennessee, and especially at home, Tennessee look like I can't stop anything at the moment. But the problem will remain if. Obviously, Johnson isn't good to go. Is that on the bench there? Jennings also isn't good to go, and he's telling me here is a game time decision. Then DJ Moore might be the only credible option against the Commanders away, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. Drake May should be okay against New Orleans too. I think that again, Buffalo away, difficult place to go. New Orleans is as well, but they should fashion to see a lot more offense. But for me, and look, whenever you've got the QB against the opposition defense, I'm always in favor of that from the QB's perspective, because you can do an awful lot more damage with that. But from a skill position point of view, I'm so settled. So I think Ibuka is the clear find number 1 in a pretty high scoring offense, and then the 3 running backs I've got versus Dallas, excellent, versus Carolina on the other side, even better, and then Bijan, who's going to get a lot of carries at home against Buffalo, one might think. Seahawks against Jacksonville as well, pretty stout, and I think Jacksonville had a bit of punchy showing against KC last week, but the Seahawks D, last week aside against Tampa, have been very, very good and have scored well, and especially against a reasonably turnover. Is he turnover? I suppose he is. Trevor Lawrence, but yeah, they turn the ball over.
He's throwing 3 picks, yeah.
Yeah, it's pick worthy. Bench is good for me as well, and McLaurin aside, so there's depth if I needed it, but I don't think I'm going to. Nath, I'm really confident about it this week, I'm going to pick my team.
And I'm going to lock your team. Because like you said, the 3-headed running back engine room there. You've got 2 of them playing against each other, and Jack Dowdle and Jonathan Williams, and you also have the revenge game narrative for Rico Dowdle, technically. So,
yes, I suppose. Yeah.
Looking at Ben on the other side, okay, yeah, he's got Jonathan Taylor and Karen Williams, who both of them should absolutely eat as well. But it's the supporting cast beyond that I worry about, because Ben's team is, I think you probably agreed, somewhat top heavy with those guys, and then he's just looking for other guys to chip in. Whereas your team from top to bottom, AJ Brown is your worst player, and he's already scored 8, so that's fine. The other guys should do quite well beyond that. You kind of said it. I don't like the Lions D against KC. I know the Lions D have been reasonably decent, but yeah, especially going into Arrowhead, if it was at Ford Field, it'd be something different. And then weakness of the Lions D just happens to be their pass game, the pass defense, which obviously Mahomes benefits from. So yeah, I just can't see where the points are really going to come from in the supporting cast. Quentin Johnson, like you said, not entirely healthy. Even if he is, that O-line's banged up for the Chargers. They're not quite as prolific as they were at the start of the season. Is the defensive scheme and the offense sort of changing now to migrate a bit back more towards like Lad McConkey away from him and Allen? I don't know, but doesn't really matter because, you're going to win this game, I think, Chris. So we'll go on to the next game, which is Great Scott against Bare Necessities. Battle of the undefeated against the defeated. 5-0 Great Scott against 5 Bare Necessities. Projections are as you'd expect them, 91-82 in favour of Great Scott. My dad did have the Eagles D on Thursday night, who dropped what woe-weighs me 4 points against the Giants. So that's obviously not going to be helping his case. In terms of lineup changes, Jalen Warren's come in for my dad's team because Justin Jefferson is on bye. And for Great Scott, let's see here. Romadunze obviously comes back in. He coming off bye, which sends Woody Marks onto the bench, which would have happened anyway, but he's on a bye, so it doesn't matter. Kamara's also on the bench, actually, so he has made one other change. Oh, Tyler Warren, yeah, of course, he's coming, so that may be injury-related, or Kamara's just not been that good recently, so it might be to do with that as well. The history of this matchup, all time, let's see, Great Scott. It's a level series 2-2, and I'll quickly do the other games quickly because I didn't say that. So Examford Flyers, you, Chris, are 15-7 against Ben all time, so history definitely on your side. And I can't remember if I did it in Ollie's game, but let me just double check. Ollie is 7-5 against Ross's team all time as well. So just before I throw over to you for this game, Chris, Mike has said in the comments, so you got enough trades sent there, Nath? Yes, I do have 4 open trades who I've offered to people. So yes, I can technically have one more. So 2 got rejected. So no, the answer to your question, Mike, is I don't have enough trades because technically I can offer one more. So back to this game. Can my dad potentially get his first win against the undefeated team here, Chris?
Tell you what, Nath. I always get the heebie-jeebies when you see so many away teams, and it's almost everybody except for Tyler Warren, of course. And Tyler Warren. When you're playing with an MVP candidate, then but for me, in some ways, it doesn't matter because Herbert and Nakua have absolutely prime matchups here. Let's be honest. Against Miami, and I spoke about the travel and that for Waddle going the other way, but if Herbert can get it right. That Miami defense is there for the taking, but for Nakua it's even better, and I think that despite that the Rams will be good, and the Rams will go to him a lot in this game. And you can't really argue with the form of the others. Harrison and Dunze have a lot to offer, and a big part of the respective teams' offenses. McCaffrey's looked every bit of as what they wanted at the beginning of the season. And the Patriots could go and beat Spencer Rattler up. So that's cool. But on the other side, I think for me, there's always so many question marks with Dave's team. Chase Brown there against Green Bay. Green Bay bottled up Jahmyr Gibbs earlier in the year. We know how good he is. So Chase Brown in a stuttery offense shouldn't be a problem at all. I think Warren against Cleveland, again, that's going to be a very, very gritty match. And Montgomery, though we've seen his usage uptick, certainly in the last couple of weeks. He scored 28 against Baltimore, 1 against Cleveland, and 19 against Cincy.
And that Cincy one was a little bit of a special case where it was a homecoming from him where it felt somewhat manufactured. He probably would have still got 1 touchdown, but there was definitely an element of
Yeah, but this is the thing, is that Cincy and Baltimore have sucked on defense. You're going to go into KC in Arrowhead, as you mentioned before, different story. I think Worthy will be fine. So he's coming out. It's coming out of the injury funk, and then Daniels and Debo. I like that but it's Monday Night Football. Weird shit can happen there. But both of them have been pretty good when they played together for the most part. So yeah, I think that you can't really go against the prevailing wind of a 5-0 team. I know Jeff had a down week last week, but hadn't up to that point. I think that those three receivers and Warren will be well involved. And despite some logistical challenges, shall we say, with that team, I think they're going to come out on top.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Great Scott as well. I have a feeling this isn't going to be a great week for Jeff's team, because while on paper you sort of look at that and you're like, yep, so delivered, fine, has enough to beat bare necessities. I think if you go through each one, there's just bits there where I can find a knock for most of the players on his team, just not generally for the season, but certainly for this week. And I just wonder if there is a route, if everything sort of aligns properly for my dad's team, where he can sort of get the upset here. Because with Herbert, I don't know if Joe Alt's going to miss this week. Perhaps you can do some Googling while I'm doing the analysis. But that was a large part of his struggles last week. And obviously, they already lost Rashawn Slater at the start of the season. So if that O-line's banged up, you're right. It's obviously a plum matchup. But combined with the cross-country bit, I don't know. I just have a bit of worry there. Nakua against Baltimore, again, on paper, like you said, that should be a smash matchup. But, you know, if the Rams just get out to lead, they're just going to run the ball, because you could basically do whatever you want against Baltimore. I think the weather's supposedly not meant to be great for that game as well. Again, I'm not sure how much I weight that, but it's just another kind of knock. Again, you've got the west to east factor technically with that game too. Harrison, is Murray going to play? If he does, how good is he going to be? Defense has been pretty solid. McCaffrey, again, he's going to be solid, but in terms of a ceiling game, Tampa Bay is better against the run. Okay, he's been doing much of his damage as a receiver, which they are much worse against, so he should still be fine. Adunzo's obviously been solid. Warren, again, he's been solid, albeit does his damage on few targets, so the opportunity there is for a lower game as well. There's just enough there to make me think maybe my dad can win this game if everything goes right, but I think everything has to go right, because like you say, he's only got 4 points from the Eagles D. I can't see Chase Brown doing anything because he's done nothing all year long. Flacco's great, but that O-line still sucks ass. Jalen Warren's got a tough matchup as well. So there's a core group of players from my dad's team who need to have a really good day together to be able to sort of cause the upset here. With Jeff's players, obviously, or multiple of which not having a great day as well. And I just can't see both of those things all happening together to make that happen. So, yeah, going to go with Great Scott here as well. We'll go on to the next game then, which stays in the Portsmouth division. It's Gridiron Gang against Pakistan. Pakistan obviously looking to get back on the win bus after a 2-game loss streak, whereas I won last week at 3-2, Pat 2-3. Pat's off to a very good start with 29 points, courtesy of Cam Scatterbo. He obviously has the projected lead as a result of that as well, 109 to 93. If we take a look at the teams, my team is unchanged at the moment, other than obviously defense and kicker. So as I said, Michael Badger coming in to fill the kicking shoes of Spencer Schrader. On Pat's side, Baker Mayfield comes back into the starting lineup, and I think beyond that he is unchanged in the skill positions. History of this one all time. Let's see, I am 9-4 against Pat's team. The question on everybody's minds, Chris, with a 29-point deficit, could I still potentially come back and win this game?
It's going to be a challenge. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I think the QB situation on both sides is probably reasonably equal. I get what you say about you can run all over Baltimore, but you're going to get there first. But Mayfield against San Francisco, I think, probably has it for me just by the fact that they're playing at home. I can't get past the fact that there's still a receiver stack for Pat, and if one of them's good, then great. If they're both good, then great. But they've been inconsistent at the moment, and I don't like that. I don't like inconsistency generally. And against KC, yeah, they're probably going to have to be used. I think Amara is absolutely where your money is. But yeah, Williams so far really hasn't scored that highly except for week 2, 17 points against Chicago, and that was in a big win and at home. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm not sure about Gentry against Tennessee will be fine, as we've seen Tennessee just get blown. And Broncos against the Jets. Well, this is a very intriguing test for the Broncos here because you've got a multi-headed offense and not just one of the passes. So I think if you're going to call it a test, and especially as it's not neither home nor away, of course. There's some strangeness there, so I think fading that defense is probably about right. Whilst for you, Nate, you get to see him, then you get to see your man in action.
Two.
Cortland Sutton, but
two men in action.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah, Dobbins as well. I would say that Dobbins is going to have more luck, perhaps, than Sutton is. We've seen Sauce Gardner be the man, but he's not say as good as he is. I do think that Sutton's been much improved this season. Ferguson to Carolina, I think we should see more from him, especially now an offense that is highly aggressive, and two does seem to be multifaceted, and especially for him, looking for the red zone targets, looking for TDs, absolutely where it's at. Cook against Atlanta should be fine, and say Gibbs against KC, they've got to get something going there, and perhaps it'll be through him. Steelers D as well against Cleveland. Oh yes.
Yeah, looking forward.
That's Saxon. So no, I think that you're right. The question that you prefaced this with is, can you do enough to overturn a 29-point deficit? And that's hard work. I think it's going to be uphill sledding, and it could be relatively close in the end. But I still feel as though Pat will be carrying a player, and Jameson Williams throughout. And as a result, this is the hardest one for me to call here. It could come down to the QBs and Ashton Genty. Man, toss a coin for this one. Toss a coin.
You got to pick one, but I'll do my bit while you have a little bit. What side of the fence?
Yeah, I'm going to go you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I go. In a surprising turn of fashion, then, despite the 29-point lead for Pat, we're both picking my team because I look. I think rationally, I think Pat will still win this game because 29 points from one non-quarterback player is such a huge advantage. And Pat does have good guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Baker Mayfield, I think, is the third highest scoring quarterback on the year, so he's obviously going to have a solid day. But I just look at it. Baker, I think you're right. He's nailed on to have a good day, and I think Stafford's got to equal it to kind of keep myself in the game, which Stafford's been passing a lot as well, so could well do. But yeah, weather and scoreline, Anyway, it's the four skill positions because Amon-Ra should have a good day. But we saw he only got 10 points last week. Goff away from home in a tough KC environment. It does make you wonder, what's Olave going to do against Christian Gonzalez? You already mentioned about Jameson Williams. He's had one good game. This could be the game because I feel like there's some of these players, but these ones that just pop off every now and then, and it's sort of matchup independent because he obviously just needs one deep ball and he can make the day. Exactly like we saw with Freddie and Rashid Shaheed against me last week, who had that 84-yard touchdown or whatever ridiculous thing it was. So could happen, but KC are good against the pass. Genty as well. I mean, he's a bell cow playing in a game that the Raiders really probably should be winning, but again, who knows what's going to happen in that Vegas-Tennessee game. So, and obviously the Broncos D should do quite well as well. So, but I just wanted with the four skill position players there, I'm going hypothetical. I could see a scenario where all of them don't have a particularly good game, and that does completely counter the 29 points that the Cam Scatterboos unreally already got for Pat on my side. I like the setup, sort of like you said. Pretty much all except Sutton. I kind of do want to get away from Sutton if I can, because I think, again, he can have an okay day. But when you're 29 points down, okay, sort of doesn't cut it. But I'm sort of looking around. I'm not really sure where else there's to go. I've got Darren Waller, but the matchup isn't great. Matthew Golden, he's just a complete dart throw. And then, obviously, it's whatever's on free agency, which isn't particularly reliable. So I might not get away from it, but I just think my team's obviously been pretty good at second highest in scoring. Can there be some good results there that can overturn it? Possibly. So you're right though. It wouldn't surprise me if it's close and a nail biter. So despite the 29-point advantage from Pat already. We'll go to the next game then, which is Oaken Golden Bears against the Dream Team. That is the Bristol Bowl. Viv is 3-2. Freddie is 1-4. So Freddie needs to start getting some wins if he wants to kind of keep up in the division, which is exactly what Viv is trying to do with the leader. He is projected to win this one, 85-77. Already has 23 to 5-point lead as well. Does Viv, courtesy of Jalen Hurts, against Devontae Smith, who only got 5. Looking down the lineups, so let's see for Viv's team. I'm trying to think. He must be benching Nico Collins and Jordan Mason because they're both on bye, which means I think he's bringing Zach Charbonnet into the lineup and possibly Calvin Ridley as well, maybe Rashad White. On the other side of the board for Freddie, he has brought Tucker Kraft in from the waiver wire to the starting lineup in favour of Amarian Hampton, of course, who's obviously now on IR. But beyond that, I think he is unchanged. The history of this one all time, Oakland Golden Bears are 0-1, so lost to Viv last season. Do you think Viv's got a pretty good shot going to 4-2 here, Chris?
I think so, Nath. Yeah, I think that again, there's some really good matchups there for Viv. I think Devontae is good. It's a good matchup there. As McConkey, as Ridley, and perhaps as Charbonnet as well. And certainly Colts D with the QB situation being up in the air. So no, I think that it's a pretty straightforward one here. We've seen this can be a London game. There's a London game double in this one as well. Nix and Hall both in the same game. I would fade them both. Say Shaheed maybe, but you know what he is. He's like the Southern Alec Pierce.
The
Southern Alec Pierce. Maybe Alec Pierce is the Northern Raheed Shaheed. And look, it's long TD merchants is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
But it gets more interesting the further down you get. I think Walker is Jacksonville will be all right.
You say that. I'm pretty sure they've been a pass funnel defense so far, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And Walker's obviously in a split backfield with Charbonnet on the other side. So
he is. But you can't doubt talent ever. You can't doubt talent.
I don't know how good he is, to be quite honest. He's a good pure rusher, but
rusher.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't doubt it. He is exciting to watch. But you're right. This game is not necessarily about how exciting you are to watch. It's about how many TDs you score. And he's had a good start to the season. So multiple double-digit points weeks. Just got to keep the faith with that. But Packers D against Cincy, interesting, and that could be very beatable. But I don't think it's enough. So I'm going for Viv. And I've absolutely no doubt this week that some of those streaky receivers will come good.
Yeah. No, I'm going Viv as well. Like, it's a fairly receiver heavy team, albeit he's obviously starting Rashad White and Charbonnet this week. White's obviously going to be the lead running back again with Bucky Irvin out, so I like that. Adams should benefit, obviously, if they run up the score on Baltimore, and McConkey, like I say, seemingly looks like he's going to be better. Even Ridley could have a good day against that Raiders D. So, and the Colts might be playing against Kyler Murray less Cardinals, although they have got Jacoby Brissett, so a little revenge game narrative there, maybe, who knows. For Freddie's team, you kind of said it, I just can't get excited by it this week, particularly, to be honest. Like you said, the matchups just don't really seem overly favourable. The one really good one he does have is Tucker Kraft against Cincinnati. Cincinnati suck against tight ends, sort of like how the Panthers do as well, which is why I'm playing Jake Ferguson again. But he obviously had that big week, Tucker Kraft. Kind of feels somewhat random. I don't know. It's just it's a good matchup on paper, and Laporta made the most of it last week because Laporta's been terrible as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if he does well. But you never feel good playing a tight end, I feel like, unless it's like the level of like Pete Gronk or Kelsey, because they can always just pop up with like a 2-catch game for 12 yards. It's just the nature of a tight end. They've just got enough firepower to win this one, I think. So, yeah, easy pick for me here as well. We'll get the last game of the week then, and Mike did make a comment, I think, when I was analysing and say, I can still win this game. He said copium, which, we'll see. We'll see. So, final game of the week, Thomas Tyrant against Bucking the Trend. Bucking the Trend is 4-1, obviously looking to still retain the lead in the Southampton division. They can directly control that, obviously paying the 3-2 Tom's Tyrants. There is a small amount of points in this game, 7-5 in favour of Tom. That's courtesy of Saquon Barkley though, so not great. And the 5 points for Mike's team was from the kicker, Jake Elliott. The projections are currently heavily favouring Mike, 100-59 because Tom currently doesn't have a defense in. He does have one on the roster though, the Raiders D against Tennessee. And he's also got Chris Godwin in his lineup who has been ruled out. I don't know exactly where Tom is at the moment. He may be somewhere over the Atlantic, who knows, but I'm sure he will update his team, I should say, which will obviously feature the Raiders defense coming in, and I would presume Drake London, almost certainly coming into the lineup. Because I think he. Anyway, so it's not going to change the projections. On the other side for Mike, Josh Jacobs comes back in from the bye, dropping Michael Carter to the bench. And I think that is the only change at the moment in terms of skill positions. Chris, does Mike going to fairly comfortably say he's the leader of the Southampton division once again come the end of this week?
Well, I've got to use my lock somewhere, Nathan. I think I'm going to go with Mike this week. Sticking with what I know. Mike's team has been in the ascendancy for some time now. And as I said before, when you've got that stack that seems to be working well in Prescott and Pickens, reliable receivers in Chasen and Jigba, Smith and Jigba, that is. And again, reliable bell cow running backs, regardless of matchup, especially for Judkins. I think you're going to get seriously used. So Josh Jacobs for him has been nothing short of a revelation for the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's going to change this week either. Commanders D should do all right as well. But for Tom, once he comes back in, we've got to assume that we will see Drake London, see Metcalf, see Jordan Love, see the Raiders D.
He will also have a new kicker because Joey Sly has been brought us out. So.
Indeed, he's on as well. So but when Barkley scoring, less than 7 points on a Thursday night, that's probably not going to be your week. I'd say Daniel Jones is in there. I don't hate that, to be honest, and say
he might go back to Jordan Love on that as well, potentially.
I'd say he probably will, but I don't. If he doesn't, then it's not the end of the world. Jones is pretty good. I'm definitely high on him. Keenan Allen's Miami will be fine, and then the rest of it, I just don't see it. So. It's a pretty convincing win for Mike this week, I think, again, to put a stranglehold on the Southampton division.
Yeah, and I don't think this happens too often, Chris, but we have picked the exact same teams in every single game here, because I'm going with Bucking the Trend as well. That's got recipe for disaster written all over it.
Yeah, it really does.
Anyway,
consensus on this podcast.
Tom's team is just, it's a bit banged up. He's obviously getting some players back from bye. It's just, it feels a bit all makeshift. I'd say, Swift has not been good. I looked at the stats. I thought, Swift must have been pretty good so far, because I looked at it, he has not been great. Keenan Allen obviously got a hot start, but again, we don't really know what's going on with the pass game with that Chargers team at the moment. Barkley is obviously a bit in a funk. That Eagles team generally is in a bit of a funk. Achan's obviously been the bright spot. He'll be absolutely fine. And then, you've obviously got new kicker coming in, the Raiders D against Tennessee, which could be good, but would not surprise me if that goes up in flames as well. Drake London should be solid. That's another good one who's going to be coming in. And then Jordan Love and Daniel Jones, you sort of said it before with Jordan Love. You've no idea really what you're going to get anytime you play him. Daniel Jones, again, should be fairly solid as well. Albeit, I think, he's not been quite as hot as he was at the start of the season. So
no.
Whereas on the other side, you're right, Bucking the Trend is just very informed team at the moment. They've had two, I think we said 11-0 weeks back to back. 1 week where they went over 150 or whatever it was, City score, and then following up with another 137. But they're even better this week because they're getting Josh Jacobs back. We'll see what impact the flag trade has for Chase. You know, I think personally it's the O-line more is the problem than the quarterback, but you know, we'll see what happens there. He's got the stack with Prescott and Pickens, which against Carolina should be a laugh. Albeit, it's one of those weird ones, Carolina, where in terms of points conceded to quarterbacks and receivers, it's one of the worst matchups because you can sort of just run all over them. Normally playing with the lead, so you don't have to do too much, not as many plays in the game. So, but with how this Cowboys defense is, I don't really think that matters. You kind of have to read between the lines with obviously that kind of stuff sometimes. So they both should have a good game, and yeah, it should be featuring in a bucking the trend victory on their way to 5-1. And that is it for this week's LOC on the clock. So clocking in a little bit over an hour, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all good content. You cannot watch the games of mine again this week because I'm going to the game, unfortunately. Same for next week, but at some point again, you will be able to watch the games at mine if you would like to do so. Thank you for joining us again, as always, Chris.
Welcome. So good luck, everybody. And I tell you what, before I sign off with my bit,
go for it.
So I watched a very good documentary on Netflix the other day, which is the Cowboys documentary. It was
I watched it. It's a good one.
America's team, Cowboys. I think it was Cowboys and it was about Jerry Jones'
Cowboys. The gambler and his Cowboys.
Gambler's Cowboys. That's what I'm looking for. That was well worth it. If you've got any fan of the NFL at all, especially of the 90s, great documentary to watch. 8-part series. Jerry's good value.
Oh yeah, he sure is. Yeah, gotta love Jerry. Oh, by the way, he also flipped the bird at a Jets fan this week as well, so you gotta love that too. So
I love Jerry. What dude? My respect for him has only grown in that after watching that. So.
And with that, have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Best of luck in your matchups, unless you're playing me, of course. You don't need any more luck. You already got bloody 29 points. I can help Scout with. See you later. Goodbye, everybody.